to Ignite Purpose. My name is Christina Foxwell, and as you know, Ignite Purpose is all about inspiring hope, stories of people's lives, and how we can actually be our best selves. And I'm really thrilled today. I have got Tamar Heller, who is dialing in from Shanghai. Tamar, would you like to say hello to our guests?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me today, Christina.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. And both Tamar and myself, obviously, I'm in Asia Pacific, but you're in the heart of Asia, Tamar.
That's right.
And the reason I wanted to interview Tamar is I always chat to my guests beforehand to see if we have a common story that can share hope and inspire people. And I felt really inspired and truthfully connected with Tamar. And I'm hoping today in our conversation, as you sit down with your cup of coffee or you're on your walk, that you can just be inspired with a little bit of hope, of stories of truth. So once again, welcome, Tamar. All right, so I'm looking at the most beautiful blue-eyed woman sitting across from me on screen.
Thank
And
you.
Tamar, tell me, you are from the US, but you are in Shanghai. It's Shanghai, right?
That's right.
So how did you get there? Please, just tell your story.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a destiny because maybe once in my life I played around with the idea of going to China. I actually got my English, teaching English as a second language certificate, oh gosh, almost 16 or 17 years ago now. I knew I always wanted to teach abroad someday, but yeah, maybe China wasn't so appealing. I thought of other countries to go to. And then I ended up being a teacher for a long time in California, where I'm from. I also did study abroad in Spain. I'm half Latina, so I was trying to connect more with my culture, learn Spanish. I lived in Spain for a while, and I thought I was going to end up there. But it just didn't work out. I don't think it was the right timing. I went back to California, and while I was teaching there again, the school I was at shut down that year. And I thought, okay, this is the chance, a now or never, to get out of here, explore more of the world, and just kind of find myself. And again, I didn't really think about China, but I saw an opportunity with Disney to come to China, like almost every other foreigner, to teach English. But I knew that that wouldn't be my final thing. I knew I wanted to go back to entrepreneurship, which is something I definitely was doing in my 20s, starting different companies, having varying levels of success. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll go there, see what's over there, try it out, and then go from there, maybe move to Europe. So I took the opportunity, and I haven't looked back. I really love Shanghai. It's a very dynamic city. You can feel its pulse, its heartbeat. We tend to call it China light. It's
Okay.
much different than the real China and the rural China, and even more so than Beijing. It's quite foreigner friendly. Lots of people here speak English. It's been good to me. And after I was done with my teaching English stint, then I got back into entrepreneurship. So I was doing some digital publishing with a company, teaching soft skills to young professionals using neuroscience techniques. And then I met my current business partner, and we joined forces, and now we have a digital agency in China. So it's been an unexpected but really cool journey, and I've met, in the past 4 years being here, I think I've met more people in those 4 years than 10 or 15 years put together. So that's been probably the most surprising thing, and I love making connections with people all around the world. It's so cool.
Well, look at us. Who would have thought a girl from Africa living in Australia to a girl who has got multiple heritage streams, grew up in the US and is now based in China? That
Yeah,
just is the story of the world we live in.
it's incredible.
So, Tamar, it sounds to me like your life wasn't necessarily mapped out.
Definitely not. I always had big plans, or I knew I was meant to do something big, as cliche as that sounds. I really always felt I had a big destiny, but I wasn't quite sure what that was. And I'm I'm more of an options person, which can be a downfall, but also a strength. And I just like to have many different options. So I remember when I was growing up, I wanted to be a fashion designer, and then I wanted to work for the CIA, and then I wanted to go into international business. I ended up teaching. I used to have a knitting business. I used to have a tutoring business. I had my own publishing firm for a while. I became a professional editor and copywriter. I used to work with celebrities and Olympians editing their books. I never expected any of that to happen. So I figured out as I got older, the more I made too concrete plans, they always got messed up and I got frustrated. So instead, I had more of a global overview of what I would like my life to look like, or what kind of lifestyle I want. And then the rest, I opened myself up more to receive. And I think really when I did that was actually over a year ago, and that was right around the moment I met my current business partner. And he was also very unexpected to come into my life, and someone who just has such a complementary skill set with mine. So I'm glad I opened up my mind and I didn't map things out so much, because life constantly surprises me, and my life has been one big series of surprises.
I love that you've said that, because it sounds to me like you've learned to walk into vulnerability and live agile.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're an expat, you have to be. More so than China, in my opinion, than any other place, because in China, for people who don't know, yes, China is definitely innovative and fast paced and progressive, but with that means that change can literally come overnight. I've never seen so many changes in such a small amount of time. I mean, I'm talking about like you bike down the street one day and there's a noodle shop, and then the next day you come back and it's a different storefront. It's insane. That's how fast things change, and it's the same with rules and regulations and all kinds of things. So China has forced me to really be agile and adapt, and I'm so grateful for that, because I think especially nowadays there's even more uncertainty, especially with the pandemic going on, and we have to be agile more than ever when we dream of success. And if we're not, I think it's going to really keep us stuck. And that's not a good place to be with this brave new world that's starting to emerge.
So I'm writing words down as you're speaking, because that's how weird I am. The
Like
first phrase I love was open myself up to receive. Ooh, love that. The second one is we dream of success. So I have a question for you, because I like this thought process. What is success?
success is definitely subjective, isn't it? For me, success means, first of all, it comes from myself. That's a big missing piece that I had in my 20s. I think really trying to prove myself, and I think we all do that. Trying to prove myself and doing too many things, giving too much in the wrong areas. And oh, those are the sounds of China. My neighbors. And for me, I figured out that, for example, happiness had to come from within me first. And if I could figure out how to be happy just with myself, by myself, that I'm responsible for my happiness, that was the big shift for everything. And for me, I think that's really the first key or first step to success. When you're content, when you're happy, then you can actually create different goals of, again, what do you want your life to really look like? Do you want to be a millionaire? Is that a responsibility you want to handle?
Yeah.
Do you want to run your own company? Do you want to have security as an employee with a great job and benefit? So I think it's really too based off of your values, what you define that's important to you. And if you start to meet those different objectives, I think that is everything is success. But overall, for me, success for me is really, did I choose the right priorities? And this is day to day or even year to year. So the right priorities that are in line with what I want my life to look like. And then second of all, did I get them done? Did I execute them well? Am I being responsible and being accountable to myself? So for me personally, that's what success looks like.
You know, you're a woman after my own heart. Because I think we so often think that money will be our measure of success. I was mentoring someone this week, and in our kind of business, you know, you could try and make a few million, but you know, you're one human. And if you're sharing yourself to the world, you're going to have to make sure you still are around to share yourself with the world.
Right.
And we had this conversation because, Tamar, when I started this practice, I wrote this amazing business plan because I'd come from global consulting. I'd been a partner. I wanted to do $1 million my first year. Oh, sweet God, that didn't happen. And then I beat myself up saying, you know, you're not good enough. You're a failure. How could you not do that? Because I was so used to being able to lead a consulting team that would deliver that. And so when I was mentoring this lovely person this week, we were talking about revenues, and I said to her, why are you doing this? Why do you want to go into a business like this? And they said, because I want to make a difference. I said, okay. And you still want to live and feed your family? Yes. I said, so why don't you look at it differently? Why don't you look at it as a profit-based business? A business that is growing and giving you enough income while it's still giving you all the joy you want from your life, versus saying, I want to achieve this massive number, and twisting yourself like a pretzel to get there, thinking that that is your value measure.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you say that because I think it's great to be ambitious, but we also have to be pragmatic and realistic. And that's why I'm so grateful for my business partner, because he helps to ground me in those certain ways, whereas I help to ground him in other ways. And we really had to ask ourselves, even for our agency, like this year, what is enough? I think sometimes success is even what's enough. You know, of course, you dream about scaling massively, but the truth is that's a lot of work. We don't have the team infrastructure yet in place or the volume. We had to change a lot of our internal processes this year. And so we were like, okay, how much is enough? How much is comfortable? How much is doing okay so that we have success in our eyes, but it's not unmanageable and we're not going to beat ourselves up about it at the end of the day. So even in that, we came up with a number, and it was like a really reasonable number and lower than I thought. But when we talked through it too, it was just very pragmatic, very logical, because it is easy to reach for the stars and put such a high expectation on ourselves, especially for women, that if we don't meet it, we really just feel down and blue about it. We even sometimes talk negatively to ourselves. So yeah, I've done that before, and I knew that that was something I wanted to change in this particular business and in my behaviors. I didn't want to put myself down like that. I just wanted to really stay focused on the objective, the goal, celebrate every little win, and then be able to look back in a year's time and just say, yeah, I reached those numbers. Okay, now what's next?
I love that, because there's a few things you said that I think we underestimate, especially when we're big dreamers. So, Tamar, I was like you. I personally believed when I was a child, you're going to laugh, that my parents weren't my parents, that a prince of some kind had left me behind at the hospital. I had a darker skin than my brothers, and that I really didn't fit with them, and that I was going to be collected because I had this great purpose in my life. And I convinced my school teachers my first year at school that my parents weren't my parents, so much so that they phoned my parents tomorrow to find out who my other parents were so they could send them a report. My mother was like, no, she is definitely our child. But coming back to my point, when we live with an expectation of destiny,
Mm,
I can't phrase it anything else.
mm, I like that.
We've got a built-in expectation of destiny.
Mm,
And I don't think that everybody is like that because we're different. But I think some of us have got a built-in expectation of destiny,
yeah.
which means we are going to be bold and brave.
Mm,
And we're also going to have scab knees and elbows,
I like
and
that. I like that.
I think that's the key things. But we have this bold, and then we want to do everything.
Yeah, of course.
And what you said is beautiful. How much is enough?
Yeah.
That is incredibly powerful because that to me is, and I bantered this around with my therapist slash coach a while back because I have one. You need one when you do the kind of work we do.
Yes.
I said, I'm surrendering to my life. And he went, oh God. And he's from California too. He said to me,
Nice.
is surrender the right word? And I'm going, Dutch surrender means I give up to this piece, but not like
Mhm.
I'm giving up. I'm giving over. And I think
Yes.
you said that beautifully when you said I open myself up to receive. And at first I thought, yes, it is giving up. And then I went, no, 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 no. It means I'm giving over. I don't
That's
have
right.
to feel like the overview of my life has to be there. And my life can be beautiful and complete, and I can still live that amazing destiny.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I love that.
It's interesting, hey?
Yeah.
So, Tamar, we've all gone through challenging times in our lives and good times. To become this purposeful, inspired woman that I'm speaking to today, what's one or two things in your life that have really crafted you into the woman you are?
Good question. I would say one of the biggest things is, well, when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, I was working with children and I had gone through some family traumas, but fortunately it all sorted itself. But I was in such a really stressful environment in all my environments. At that point, too, like I was really learning how to be more patient as a teacher. I was not patient the way I am now. I was working with little ones, and all those things combined, plus I was going to school full time. All those things combined really lowered my immune system.
Mm.
And because I did not have proper stress management tools at the time, I got really, really sick from uh, being exposed to one of the children. They had slap cheek syndrome. So it's like when children get a high fever, they look like someone slapped their cheeks. It's a very common virus and sickness in the US at least. But the way it manifested in my body as an adult was my body just couldn't handle it. Most adults will be exposed to it. I did some research, and it'll just pass like the flu or a bad cold. But I was the special snowflake, the 1%.
Yes.
Yeah, but it manifested, and what it caused was something very rare called fifth disease, like the number five. It's
Wow.
the fifth most common disease actually in the world. It's a virus, and it's also known as human parvovirus.
Okay.
So in that little 1% that I got it, I also happen to have it the highest recorded case in medical history. So it was in my blood count 4 times higher when they tested me than any recorded case. And what it causes is chronic fatigue, temporary arthritis. So I was waking up in the morning, like feeling like I was an 85-year-old grandma with my hands clenched and in pain, and then a very suppressed immune system. So I dealt with symptoms for 7 years. There's no cure for it.
Mm.
I remember my doctor basically told me, well, I mean, you can take this pain reliever, a low dose for the next, I don't know how long. Hopefully it'll pass. And I just thought, are you kidding me? Like, who tells their patient, like, there's no hope for you? We don't have any, like, that's crazy to me. So
So what did you do?
I'm not one to take a no or a negative thing, like you said, I have an expectation of destiny. So I began to really research alternative medicine and holistic health. And in doing that, I actually got eventually certified in holistic health and natural medicine. So I have a special certification. I was even at one point studying to become a doctor, a naturopath, but that got put to the wayside for now. But I learned so much. I learned how to eat better, how to manage stress, supplements to take. And yeah, it did take about 7 years to really recover. But it was all natural. It was a process. It made me tough. It made me a warrior for destiny. And also, I got to help a lot of people along the way who, they had these random illnesses or health issues they were dealing with. And I was the first one they would call, and they'd say, Tamar, I have this going on. Like, what herbs can I take? What essential oil can I use? What technique can I do to, let it go? So I learned so much about my body and the mind and being aware, and I calmed down a lot. I became more patient. I just really had a different perspective on life. And to be honest, Christina, if I had never gone through that, even though it was hellish, if I had never gone through that, I definitely wouldn't be the strong person that I am today, because I really had to fight through that, especially when you don't feel good and you have to fight. If it's an outside circumstance, it's one thing, but when you don't feel good inside, oof, it's even tougher. So, so now I would say currently I'm probably at pretty good health, like pretty one of the best, like healthiest periods in my life, which is great. I still have a ways to go as well, like especially physically, but I'm just so glad that I don't wake up with symptoms anymore like I did in my 20s of arthritis, or just even days where I felt almost paralyzed because I was in so much pain. And it also gives me a lot of empathy for people who are going through things, especially physically. If you've never been through that, it's hard to understand someone who maybe has a chronic disease or chronic pain. So for me, it gave me a lot more empathy, and to just kind of try to understand where they're coming from, because we really don't know where people are coming from, especially when they're hurt or they're not patient or they're a bit rough around the edges. We don't know what they're dealing with. So yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge of my life that I've personally overcome.
I love that you've said that. And there's two things. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
It's not easy to navigate that. And then there's something else you said, which I thought was incredibly beautiful. It's having empathy for people, because what we often see is only the outcome of the problem. It's the symptoms that the root causes, manifested. And I've got one of my team members that suffers from chronic pain, and I have to have patience with them when they let me know that they just need time out this morning, and they do work virtual, but it's a joy. And when they're on. And I think these are the things the work we do, Tamar, is we often work with people. So we're like behavioralists and help people reconnect with themselves and teach them about love and empathy. And there's a few things you said today which I can see manifesting in your life, is that self-love and peacefulness within who you are. And I think that's a key ingredient to whatever we want to be, if we are makers of our destinies. You said a warrior of destiny. I love that. And we lean into our destiny, not away from it. I was, so we've obviously in COVID, everything was really quiet. Business was less buoyant. And so I ended up doing all the things I really love doing, like podcasting and writing. And then I'm so grateful our business has picked up. And I said to my one co-host, I'm not having all this time to just be as mellow, but actually maybe I'm going to come back to something else you said. Did I choose the right priorities? And I think maybe that's the secret, is what are the things I need to do right now that will help me on the journey?
Yeah. And oftentimes it's not things that we think it should be or is, it's oftentimes we're we're almost kind of self-sabotaging to, in a strange way, sometimes we avoid success. So
Yes.
we prioritize in the wrong way, don't we? And that, again, like that's why for me, having the right business partner has been critical and crucial to my success thus far, because he sees things so clearly and strategically, and he reminds me, Tamara, that's not the priority today. Like, this is the priority today because it's going to lead to X, Y, and Z. And when I can get like this better global overview of why we're doing what we're doing, because sometimes I don't take a step back, I just do things to do things, it takes a lot of pressure off of me, first of all, because I put a lot of pressure on myself. But second of all, it does really help us to reach that final objective faster than it would have had I filled up my time with all these other quote unquote priorities.
Well said. Well said. I have learned one thing as I've run this business. I used to feel like I need to be available to everyone all the time.
Mm.
And when we kind of just consolidated, I've just said to some of my clients, I'm not available now because I'm working on another project. I will
Yeah,
be available then. And
that's right.
that was quite hard for me because I didn't want to say no to people.
Yeah.
I was just so excited people want to work with me. Do you know that feeling? You're like,
Yes.
I don't think I'm that weird. And there's value to add here. But I think they respect us when we can say that,
That's right.
because it is what it is.
Yeah.
You can't morph yourself into 6 little Tamars or 6 little Christinas.
No, no, you
I don't think
can't.
this world could cope anyway.
Yeah. No, it's true. I'm glad you said that, because that is something I've struggled with, especially before running businesses by myself. And an interesting process that we put into place now is we will respond to our clients' emails in a timely manner. But if they really have like some deep questions or whatever, we send them a booking link. And if the time doesn't work for them, that's fine, then we'll rearrange. But everything now is a Zoom call, because we explain to them, look, we want to respect your time as well. We want to service you well. Therefore, at the end of the day is when we take our calls, because we want to do deep work. We want to work with the team, make sure everything's going well for your project. And when we explain it like that, first of all, it made me feel better selfishly. But then there was a better understanding and a change of behavior as well on the client side. But, if you don't have that kind of process in place,
It
it's really
becomes.
hard to say no. It's really hard.
I was very impressed with your booking system. So you need to information.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I was very impressed with your booking system because it allowed me to choose what works for me.
Yeah.
First thing. And I think the second thing, you also just couldn't cancel it or move it, because I did try and fiddle with it the one day, and I thought, not fiddling with Tamar's meeting. And that's actually good, especially if you're dealing with business owners, because our life is nuts.
Yes, exactly.
And you're a business owner. That's
Yeah,
the other thing. You're not a
yeah,
servant to the world.
that's
Same as
right.
me. We're business
That's
owners.
right.
And so we try and do our best. But time
Yeah,
is valuable.
that's right. It's the one thing you spend that you'll never get back.
Oh,
You
don't.
can lose money, you can make money. You can lose weight, you can gain weight. But when you spend time, you never get it back. So time is the most precious asset. And I would add that as my final little thing, like for success, like for me, when I'm master or mistress of my own time,
Yes.
and I can really command the day in my favor, that to me is success.
You are speaking my language.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I love that. When I started my practice, Tamar, I had this thing, everyone said network, network. And I was like, okay, network. And 6 months in, I was like, this networking thing, I've got to network with purpose, and I've got to actually be clear on my value proposition.
That's
And of
right.
course, I want to connect with people, but I'm connecting with everyone. And because I'm such a giver, I'm sharing my ideas and my
Yeah,
talent, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. But there's not a return here. And I'm actually
that's
running a business.
that's right.
And that was that click point for me, which was, some people think it's tough. But when I started business, even when I worked from home, Tamar, I got up, I was ready to take my kids to school at 8 a.m. By 8:39, I was at my desk. I would
Hmm.
either fetch them at school time or not, and then I would get back to my work. And it
Yeah.
was one of the disciplines I put in place that helped me build the practice. I'm incredibly disciplined,
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So
and I think
important.
I can see that discipline in you too.
I'm working on it. I'm
Nice,
definitely working on it.
nice.
And it does help too, like to have accountability. And that's another area where my business partner really helps me and I help him is really when there's two of you and you didn't
Mm-hmm.
follow through on what you said you would, that other person's going to ask you, why wasn't this done?
Yep.
And then what do you say? you know?
Eh, I had to
Yeah.
go to bed last night, maybe. But then it's also,
So,
what am I
yeah,
committing to?
exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And that's why the priorities things like that's why it goes back to that. Because also like yeah, we can have a lot of commitments, but some of those commitments the priority is higher than the other. And so for me, I won't promise something unless I know I'm really going to deliver it. So that's one of my things because integrity is my number one core value.
Nice.
But the other one is really remembering to take a step back because I can tend to get lost in the weeds, all the details. But I try to take a bird's eye view, take a step back, and doing that, brainstorming, having a conversation with my business partner about it really gives me a better perspective. So,
So, Tamar,
yeah,
for our clients out there, your business does something fascinating. What is your business?
yeah.
Roll me through that.
Well, we are the leading digital agency in Asia, helping large companies, but also SMEs to get leads through LinkedIn. And it's been a fascinating year because if people don't have their sales funnels full, especially this
Doesn't
year,
help.
it's gonna be tough. So we got a lot more inquiries than we ever have before, and
Wonderful.
we're working on some quite interesting projects. But all we specialize in is LinkedIn. So yeah, LinkedIn is my bread and butter, pays my bills, makes sure I have a roof over my head. So of course, it's my favorite platform ever.
Well, and it's become my favorite platform because I use it to share thoughts and
Yeah,
ideas. And
yeah,
um, this podcast will go out as LinkedIn is our platform
yeah,
because I think it's a way in which we can truly make a difference in our
yeah,
space.
yeah,
So I'm so glad that you use LinkedIn as this vehicle. And I think there's so many organizations in China that can make a massive difference. I mean, we order our puffer fish from China. Do you know what that is, Tamar? No.
yeah.
Right. I have to show you what this looks like.
Okay, show me. Yes,
So,
definitely seen those.
yes. And this is a book. I've written a book, a human book, which
Yeah,
is.
I saw that on your LinkedIn.
So I think I need to reach out to you in your spare time for some additional support around publishing. But
Yeah.
um, this represents shame, fear, and when
Ah.
we behave in a way that's not our intent, yet it's because we're tired, frustrated, not the best of ourselves. So we pop and we keep
Mhm.
our pain away. And when we don't pop, we're agile, we're able to reach amazing goals, and we're the
Yes,
best of ourselves.
I
Anyway,
love that.
so I love this. I get this from China, and we get all sorts of other things. So China is one of my favorite places, and my son-in-law is Korean. Not that he's Chinese. He'd get
Okay.
no, I know that's not China.
No, it's
I
not.
know that Jacob out there. I love you, Jacob. But I think what a wonderful thing. So to me, chatting to you today leaves me inspired because he has a few things I'm going to give back to you. Tamar,
Okay.
you are a warrior of destiny. You are a woman who has an expectation of destiny. You not only dream your success, but you live it because you open yourself up to receive it, and you do it by being responsible for your happiness every day. How's that for a nice summary?
Wow. Thank you very much. That's a big gift. Thank you, thank you, thank
Well,
you.
It's the gift you gave all our listeners today, and I summarized it and gave it back to you. Don't ever stop your dreams, Tamar. I can't wait to meet you in person. So when you ever come to Sydney,
Yes.
Australia, you fly in here, lady, and we probably will have South African food, but
Oh,
hey,
sounds great.
yeah, does
Sounds
it sound
wonderful.
okay? And Tamar, if there's any message of hope, inspiration, passion, joy, anything you want to give away to our listeners as closing, what would you tell them?
I would say be your own warrior of destiny. This year has already been challenging, and if we're being realistic, it's going to get even more tough. That's just the reality. However, if you take responsibility for yourself, your actions, what you're doing, how you're networking, how you're choosing to pivot your business or even your career, and if you really expect that destiny, I think you're going to be okay.
I think
really
you'll
do.
be okay.
Yeah.
And then I want to add this, please open yourself up to receive.
Yes.
Because sometimes we think it has to be one way, but
Yeah.
maybe by standing in the ebb and flow of life, we are receiving the gifts we didn't even know we would get.
That's right. That's right. I love that.
Tamar, what a bloody pleasure. I would like to invite you back again.
Me too.
I would like to invite you back again, but I want to thank you for making time. It's
Yes.
late afternoon in Australia and must be around lunchtime in Shanghai.
Yes.
So have an amazing weekend.
Thank you,
And
Christina.
please stay connected as a dear friend and partner for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you so much.
It's my great pleasure. Now, to everybody out there, I'm going to wrap up the show. If you want to get in touch with Tamar or with me, please reach out on LinkedIn. We would love to speak with you. If you are interested in any of the work Tamar does around, LinkedIn lead navigation, especially for organizations in Asia and maybe around the world, why don't you just reach out to her? If you want to reach out for hope, for support, for just a phone call, a conversation, coaching, why don't you reach out to me? Both her and I are warriors of destiny. That is absolutely what this episode is going to be called. We hope you'll be a warrior of your destiny. Don't stand in competition. Why don't you just stand in your own light? That's the best way to rise. This is Christina Foxwell and Tamar Hila, and we have loved spending time with you today. Please tune in to our next episode shortly and have a good day. Bye.